Okay, so one thing I realized is I didn't really get to the point in that last rant, so I'm just gonna get to the point in this one. Yes, those chili lime tortilla chips are all my hype. Anyway, so the point here is that like we have these social systems today, right? And this is why people keep calling everything like the woke West or the woke left. Those wokists, those wokists, they're always advocating for social justice. And see, the reason why is because I don't think some of you guys remember how people got into the privileged places that they are in now. Like everyone didn't start at the same place. And this is why I think we can talk about immigrants, newer immigrants, fresh off the boat people, but I just don't think it actually makes sense in terms of explaining the woke leftists, okay? Because the woke leftists are people who have been here and who actually have seen the way that sort of systems play out in terms of making their lives worse. So here's an example of this. Like, not only has it been just like a negative experience to be like living as a gay person in the Bible Belt, for instance. The Bible Belt is a part of middle America where there's just like states, a whole line of states where it's just super like Protestant, Christian, Orthodox. It's very like by the Bible. So they call it the Bible Belt. It's not just that living there is unpleasant, okay? It's unlivable. That's why you see most people who are gay, they have to leave, but they have to tolerate it until they're like 18 and then they like leave. But just imagine that for a second, some place being so insufferable that like you cannot live there. That's insane. Like there's so much hatred and violence in the community that you have to move. And most of the people that we're actually talking about here are white people. So this is why, like, I understand the LGBTQIA people on the left who are fighting for social issues and like dignity and rights in terms of like, we refuse to live under that, because they actually know what it's like to live under that. And this is not like 100 years ago. This is like 10 years ago. And even now, like people didn't really, those like fundamentalist assholes didn't like become better overnight. They're still awful and they're still there. It's just that all the decent people chose to leave. So some of the things that, the woke leftists are fighting for make sense. And honestly, some of you have just, this is what I'm saying. Some people have come into the conversation so late that they don't remember what it was like. They've never experienced it because everyone else has done all the work to make it palatable for them. So like they are just, all they can talk about is their own lived experience. Like they can say, oh, but that's never happened to me. Oh, I don't behave like that. My mother doesn't behave like that. We don't know anyone in the world who behaves like that. That doesn't matter, honey, because just because you don't know the people who exhibit this behavior does not mean that they don't exist. And it doesn't mean that other people are not dealing with that behavior. This is the issue that I have, specifically just understanding the plight of the Black Americans in this country. It's just like, I feel like I read an article today that was like some other Black kid was killed and the officer who murdered a child is going free and he has no sort of accountability. This is what Black children are living with in this country. Police officers just shoot Black kids dead, just shoot them dead, and then they go free and they go back to their families and they teach their families like, it's okay to kill Black children. Well, it's not okay to kill Black children. And if this country doesn't get it together, it's just gonna be more war, because it's gonna be like families who are like, all right, well, if you shot mine, I'm just gonna shoot yours. This is way more of the time of like Malcolm X than Martin Luther King. Like straight up. It's gonna be people hunting down people's families and then just going to shoot the officers right at home. Because I'm not seeing, if the law does not want to provide justice, fine. If they don't want to jail people who commit crimes, fine. There are other ways to deal with it, which is why some people were taking Kanye West, what he was saying, as if it wasn't true. He was like, he said it and it was funny, but Kanye's from Chicago. Like I said before, gangs are real. You guys, just because maybe you don't know anyone in a gang personally and you've never experienced gangs, then you think, oh, this isn't a thing that exists, or you can like social movement your way out of it. That's not really how it works at all. Like Kanye really does have enough money to pay someone to kill Pete, and he could probably do it if he wanted to. And you know, SNL would have to move on without Pete. That's like what would happen. And white America might be sad, but that's like, there's nothing that there's a lot of murders that happen every day. It's not like, it's not new. And like, I'm not even saying it to be like funny. I'm just saying it because it's a normal thing in the society. Just because you don't talk about it or you don't see it because you're sheltered does not mean it's not real, because it is. And I'm just saying, I think we have to be as critical of the officer who should be prosecuted and is not. If you're willing to live in a society where that person is not prosecuted and it's okay with you because it wasn't your child, or the child who was murdered wasn't the race of your child or whatever, and you're fine with it, then just know that your day will come when a kid will be shot who is a part of your race, and then the rest of us will be like, oh well, it doesn't matter because justice isn't a thing in this society. And that's how it works. This is why I really think people are not taking seriously the fact that there are so many children of color who do not empathize with what's happening in Ukraine. They don't care, like at all. Nobody's crying a tear. There's no poster, there's no flyer, there's no flag, nothing. The Will Smith slap is more historical than what's happening in Ukraine right now. And that is sad, but that is true. Because we live in a world of world star hip hop. And these children have been witnessing extreme violence for their whole lives. And now your children get to experience extreme violence. And I don't even know how you come back from that, because we just watched like a whole white country just get blown the fuck up. Some of us watched. I didn't really watch. I mean, I see the headlines and then I like click off. I don't know. I'm not into watching any violence or horror, right? Like, I feel like my life has enough horror in the real world. Like, I don't need any more. I need peace. I need to watch people having peace. I need to watch myself having peace. Okay, but let's go back for a second. So here's another thing that I want to kind of like highlight. So when people have opportunities, they're able to take those opportunities and like capitalize on them to create more opportunities for other people. Now, one thing that I've been watching is 50 Cent. So 50 Cent, you know, I think he was a felon or something, right? Then has a successful rap career, takes the funds from the rap career to start a really successful television show. Now he's branched off into selling like really expensive champagne, like a $400 bottle, which I am gonna buy, but I'm just saying, like, he is making power moves, and we've seen this before. Where did we see this before? We saw it first with Jay-Z, Diddy, right? Now we're seeing it with 50 Cent. So now there is a literal clear path to success for Black men who want to transition out of music and become more. Now, white men and families have been doing this for a very long time. They created, you know, universities and sort of like privileged caste systems where their children could just show up, right, and then have skills like typing. And with just being able to type, they could secure middle-class lives for themselves. Unfortunately, other Black children did not have skills of like typing, so they could not. So that's a thing, and maybe we should really rethink this whole critical thinking topic and what critical thought is, because we can't just have critical analysis around like primarily white topics. Like, maybe we should have some critical analysis around why white Americans are so accepting of Black failure in the country, almost as a maybe like a barrier or an example of what not to be. Because instead of creating, you know, fix-it sort of pipelines that say, hey, this thing is going wrong in this community, we need to go in and we need to fix it because these are Americans and we care about America, supposedly the right wing cares about America and Americans, but they're totally fine with black poverty and black death from Americans in America. So it's very hard because like I am a critical thinker and I think critically about that. It does, the logic isn't logicking, right? The math isn't mathing. It doesn't make sense. Either you care about America or not, and I think I'd be pretty correct when I say this. I think a lot of the immigrants who are coming to this country for education do not care about America. I think they care about just like wealth and access, and they're getting it by like traveling through America and having university level experiences. But this is kind of the same way almost I feel. It's like, yeah, I mean, I'm gonna go live in Africa. Like that is what I want to do, but I'm here now, so I'm gonna try to like live the best life that I can now, but like I don't see this as my home. I don't really feel invested in the future of the country, but I also don't feel invested in watching anyone fail. So like not black people or white people collectively. And I think that America really does have this opportunity to create a really great country, but it's just every day I look out and it's like it's failing so poorly. Like it's doing an awful job, and there are people who know what to do, who know how to fix it, and for whatever reason they're not. And the way that I feel that I am contributing is by literally shedding a light on what I see and what is happening, and almost like the passivity of it all, right? Like I see a problem, like watching my friend Shyla get her face smashed in was very hard to do. But I also realized I couldn't save her. Even if I wanted to, like I couldn't. She asked for that fight and I can't fight the fight for her. Which is the same way that like white America, I think they think black women are gonna come and save them, or Martin Luther King, or no one's doing it. Like not even in a joking way, but either America is gonna pay for its sin of like slavery and Jim Crow, or it's not. The only way to create equity in the country is to address and pay reparations for slavery. Like make it fair for black Americans. That's the only way forward. There's no like meritocracy, affirmative action isn't gonna fix it. It's a racial wealth gap and systems of oppression. Everything that like white Americans broke, they have to fix it. Even the ones who did it, all of the ones who did it are dead, right? Like I don't think there's anyone who's still alive who like did it, but like this is the part where it doesn't make any sense. Like why are we in America writing about Ukraine in a serious way? Like we have American problems. This is America and there are real American problems. Who the fuck is solving those? How are we gonna house 100,000 people? There's like, aren't there like 300,000 homeless people in Venice Beach right now on Skid Row? They're unhoused. There's at least like 10,000 in Oakland and another 20,000 in San Francisco right now that are unhoused. There ain't no housing and there ain't no funds. So I don't see how it's floating out of the air now. Like the math isn't mathing, okay? Like we have American problems and we haven't solved those because supposedly there's no money, there's no funds, there's no resources, there's no policy. So if there's none, how the fuck are we talking about, like, we can't even talk about Ukraine. Like, I don't even understand how this many resources are being spent on another fucking country. If that's the case, then shit, let's start covering Japan more in depth, okay? I want to know how the trains operate. Somebody teach me how to make Japanese sushi on the fly, you know, build a robot for that. You feel what I'm saying? Like, if we're just talking about all the issues in the world, well, put more reporters on what's going on in Yemen. Like, equal opportunity oppression here, like, Ukraine doesn't have it the worst. It's not the worst humanitarian crisis we've ever seen. And the saddest part is, it's not even worse than the shit that's happened on American soil that no one has ever addressed and everyone is aware of. I swear.